All right. It's on there.
Khan, shalom. Shabbat shalom, Yashala. Scribe abad.
It's your servant Aina.
Back at it with another video through the Spirit on Romans, the 11th chapter. A lot of Christians, they use this to kind of, indoctrinate the world. They use this to try to graft in everybody. So we're gonna go through this breakdown and break it down to the best of our ability, and Lord willing, y'all gain understanding through the Spirit. You got it, King.
Khan. Yep. Hey, all praise to the Most High for another Shabbat. Lord willing, we can keep enduring in this thing and keep waxing mighty to the best of our ability. And we're gonna dive into Romans, the 11th chapter. Because like the brother said, you got a lot of Christians out here. They try to manipulate the precepts, man, to make it seem like this thing for everybody, but it's not. So we're gonna dive into this thing to the best of our given ability, and Lord willing, rightly divide, the word of truth.
Okay.
Can you see the screen, King, showing up?
Kanye is showing up.
All right, Kanye. Gonna dive into a couple of precepts. We'll get the classic, 2 Peter 3 and 15 through 16. It says what? It's the book of 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse number 15. It says, an account that the long suffering of the Lord is salvation, even as our beloved brother Paul also, according to the wisdom given unto him, have written unto you, as also in all his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures, unto their own destruction. So when they come to diving into Paul's letters, the mighty apostle Peter had already admonished, brothers, that when you dive into them, it actually can be kind of difficult. These things is kind of hard to be understood. So when you unlearn and you unstable, you're not really like rooted just yet, kind of wrestle, struggle, fight, with his letters and other scriptures as well. It say as they do also the other scriptures, right? So even Paul letter is not even the only thing that people have a hard time understanding. Now that is the chief. I would say it's chief. It's one of the most popular, most common things that people wrestle with. It is Paul's letters, but it's other scriptures too. It's many other precepts that is the precepts themselves are not stumbling blocks, but people not having to understand it. Some people get jammed up with Genesis 3rd chapter and think snakes talk to people. Some people wrestle with that. So when it comes to Paul's letters, they can be difficult to understand, and it is good to be learned and actually stable and rooted in the doctrine, because what Paul speaks about salvation, according to the wisdom that was given to him, and his chief office was to go to the Israelite foreigners, the Gentiles, right? The Hellenized Jews, these Greeks, man. So when Paul is talking about salvation in his letters, it's to Israel at the end of the day. You got it, Abad.
Gone. Let's go to the book of Psalms chapter 119, verse 104.
It's the book of Psalms chapter 119 and verse 104. Reads, it says, through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way.
And through the precepts we get the understanding of, we get the understanding the proper doctrine of the scriptures. A lot of Christians, they like to go to one verse and, close with the book. They made their point and they walk off in the darkness, But, we have to go through the precepts and get the understanding. A lot of Christians and people of this world fail to realize the understanding of the scriptures. So, and they don't even understand the history of the scriptures. Like a feast of dedication is coming up, During that time, you had mighty men fighting for their laws, their customs. They was fighting against the heathen that was trying to indoctrinate, their people. So when you read in the New Testament, the so-called New Testament, read about these Gentiles and these Greeks, and they fail to understand that the reason these Israelites are called Greeks and Gentiles is because of the history that went on. So we're going to dive into the history, and Lord willing, we can share this understanding. Lord willing, it's reached to somebody. We can kick it off though. If you got another precept, you know.
I'll grab one more. One more. I go to Proverbs. Proverbs 2, verse 6. This book of Proverbs, chapter 2. Well, actually, this whole thing, fire. I actually started at 3.
Gosh.
You know, because we want sound doctrine. We want to rightly divide the word. You know, we want the proper and sound wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has to offer us, so we can have proper understanding of these precepts, man, of these breakdowns. We don't want to be led astray. We don't want strange doctrine. We don't want to. We don't have itching ears. We don't want to hear what so-called sound good. We want the truth.
God.
All right. There's Proverbs 2 and 3. It says, "Yea, if thou criest after knowledge, and liftest up thy voice for understanding, if thou seekest her as silver and searchest for her as for hid treasures, then shalt thou understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God." So we got to cry after sound doctrine. All right. We have to cry out, just as plain as it say. Okay, we have to cry after sound wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, so we can find the proper knowledge of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. It says, "For the Lord giveth wisdom; out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding." So the Lord, he give wisdom. That's in James, the 1st chapter. The Lord give liberally. All right, but you just got to cry out. All right, you don't have to pay the Lord $100 for an in-depth breakdown. All right, that's madness. You don't have to pay the Lord, you know, for the next prophecy. Lord, I have $100. Can you unlock Revelation 5 for me?
God, you got a subscription for all the new breakdowns. You know,
Right? You subscribe to $17.99. No, you subscribe to $144 a month. All right. Say, look, I need the elect knowledge. $144 a month. All right, to get the in-depth breakdown. That's madness.
All
right. The Lord said, all you got to do is cry. All you got to do is ask. Real quick. I just want to get it real quick. Let's go to James. 1st chapter. This book of James, right? It says what? James, I'm gonna start at 5. It says, James 1 and 5, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, not wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed." So if you lack wisdom, ask the Most High. Just ask him. Pray earnestly, sincerely, because the Lord know why you want that wisdom. You want wisdom to show off. You know, you want wisdom to freak off. You know, people get wisdom and seduce people.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to be sincere when you asking for this wisdom if you lack it. And we all lack wisdom because we all don't know every single thing. There's still more to learn each and every day. But you got it, King.
God, let's get the book of. It's like we can actually let's go to Romans chapter 10. It's like let's go to Romans chapter 1. Kick it off there.
1 and 7.
Romans. Yeah, con. Well, you can start at verse. You start at verse 7.
It's the book of Romans chapter 1 and verse 7. It says, "What? To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints."
So this epistle that Paul wrote, it's for those in Rome called to be saints. Everybody doesn't bear the title of being a saint. Can you get that in the blue letter? Saint.
Let's
get that in the blue letter. Because a lot of Christians, a lot of people in this world, they say saints is you being a so-called good guy. You helping an old lady cross the street. Oh, he's such a saint. He did something good. They just call anybody a saint. They just kind of throw that out there. Hey, he's still smoking weed, right? He's still freaking off in the dark. So how can he be a saint? It ain't on the screen.
Oh, it's not. Share this tab instead.
No, kind.
See it now?
Yeah, kind. Pull that up in a So saint is a word is just tossed out there. So we have to actually dive into these words to understand the scriptures. The Lord said, "Be not ignorant of anything," in the book of Sirach, chapter 5, verse 15. So it literally says, "Most holy thing, a saint," and on down it says, "Sacred, physical." It's like a physically pure, morally blameless, or religious, ceremonially consecrated, most holy. It's like a most holy one thing, saint. So the true definition of saint is holy one. Who are the holy ones according to the scriptures? Let's get Sirach chapter 20 and verse 26. Let's get the book of Sirach chapter 20 and verse 26.
The book of Sirach chapter 20 and verse 26. It says what? The disposition, well, you said 20 and 26?
Yeah, Sirach 20 and 26.
The disposition of a liar.
Are you in chapter 20?
I mean, sure.
Are you in Sirach? You in Sirach?
Oh, which one? I thought you said Sirach. So, like, can you see?
Like Leviticus. Leviticus. I probably did say Sirach. So like it.
Yeah, Leviticus 20 and 26, the classic. Yes. There's a book of Leviticus, chapter 20 and verse 26. It says, "What? And ye shall be holy unto me, for I, the Lord, am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine."
So the Israelites, they bear that title of being the saints. They're the ones that separated from this world, that have been separate to be the Most High's inheritance, the right of his inheritance. Everybody, they can't bear that title of being the saints. They're not consecrated. They're not the holy ones. They're not the elect, you know? So that title is given only to the children of Israel. If you got a precept, you can bring one out. I was going to bring out Psalms 50 and 5.
I'll try to Google it because I don't physically have it. The Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, the definition of Satan there say like a God's covenant people, Israel, something like that.
I grab it.
Yeah, Saint in the Zondervan. But yeah, I dive in there real quick. Let me get the classic. This the book of Psalms, chapter 148 and verse number 14, the other classic. It says, "What? He also exalteth the horn of his people, of the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise you, the Lord." So, like the brother diving into, the saints is the Israelites. All right, they're the children of Israel. All right, the saints is the holy ones, the people, because the Kodash, holy, to be set apart. All right, that's plain. It's not an in-depth 7-hour breakdown. All right, quick daggers.
Quick daggers.
The Israelites is the saints. All right, even of the children of Israel. It say the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel. Why didn't it say the children of Edom? Why didn't it say all men, all nations? This is very Pacific. This is plain bullseye. All right, straight to it. All right, let me get Psalms 50 and 5 for you.
Okay.
It's no rebuttal. It's no argument. It's no scoff. All right, it's none of that. Don't try to wing it. The context and context. Brother, that's exactly what it is. Where is that? All right, this Psalms 50 and 5. It says what? "Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice."
And that's in Exodus the 24th chapter. Verse 3 on down. "And the Lord made a sacrifice with the children of Israel," not the children of Ham and the 7 tribes of Canaan, you know, not damn Edom. He made it with Israel. That's plain upon tables. And this is Saints in the Compact Bible Dictionary, Zondervan. It says a member of God's covenant people, Israel. It says the saints are the church, people called out of the world to be God's own people. Throughout the Bible, the saints are urged to live lives benefiting their position. So the saints are the set apart people of God, it's covenant's people. You know, you got it.
Yep. This simply the account. This chapter, Exodus 24, where that covenant was made with the Israelites by sacrifice. All right. So when did this happen for everybody else? Somebody got to break that down. I need it. Well, you can't break it down. All right.
We just broke it down.
It is exactly. There we go. It's been broke down. This whole chapter, this whole thing, Mike. All right, that's plain. So that's just something you cannot get around that.
I also got one more. Get the book of Acts chapter 9, verse 13. It's another one in the New Testament.
This book of Acts chapter 9 and verse number 13, it says what? Then Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he have done to thy saints at Jerusalem.
Now who was Paul persecuting? Because prior to this, it wasn't nobody sent out to the Gentiles. So who was Paul persecuting? He was persecuting the Jews, So by default, the saints are the Israelites. They are the Jews. And that's plain upon tables. Even when you actually go into the history and you kind of Google, who was Paul persecuting, it literally says the Israelites. It literally says the Jews. So the saints, even according to the New Testament, Old Testament, wherever you look, it's the Israelites. So the epistle of Romans is written to the Israelites, not the heathen.
I got one more. We'll go to Acts with you. This is the book of Acts, chapter 26, and verse number 10. It says, what? Which thing I also did in Jerusalem, and many of the saints that I shut up in prison, having received authority from the chief priests, and when they were put to death, I gave my voice against them.
Yeah.
So hold on. Paul said he did this in Jerusalem. Many of the saints he shut up in prison. All right. So who is he doing this to? What people is at Jerusalem? Who homeland is that? All right. Whose city is that? Okay. Let's not sit here and play these games. All right. No, it wasn't just random heathen at Jerusalem getting put up in prison. That is the saints. Hell no. Okay. Jews. All right. Is at Jerusalem. Is these saints that was getting shut up by Paul. All right. That's plain. You can't get around it. Like the brother say, this is New Testament. What you want to say now?
Yeah.
All right. Because the scoffers, they quick to argue. Well, that's in the Old Testament. All right.
Yeah, we'll break that down.
Yeah, what you gonna say about that one? But of course, they're gonna skip, run, jump, hop, flip, slide to a whole new argument and point, or just utter some madness. All right. We're gonna go back to Romans, King.
Kanye, we can go back to Romans. We can go to the 10th chapter.
All right.
Eat the whole row, 10 and 17.
10 and 15, you said?
You can start at 17.
17. It's the book of Romans, chapter 10 and verse 17. It says, so then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. But
you can start at verse. It's like that's it, right? You can read that. It's like
I read it again, Romans 10 and 17. So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and their words unto the ends of the world. But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses saith, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation I will anger you. So
Paul is making reference to, Israel, how hard-headed they is, how they just rebellious. And we see this time in and time out throughout the scriptures. When you read the book of Judges, Israel, they kept, going off and going into captivity. Israel is a hard-headed people. So Paul is making reference to this. You got it, King.
It says what? Verse 20. But Esaias is very bold and saith, I was found of them that sought me not. I was made manifest unto them that asked not after me. But to Israel he saith, all day long I have stretched forth my hands unto a disobedient and gainsaying people.
Let's go to Romans chapter 7, verse 1. Because what a lot of Christians fail to realize as well is, Paul, he's teaching from the sacred scriptures. He's teaching from the so-called Old Testament. He's bringing up precept after precept after precept, and yet they say we scripture hopscotch, or we never deal with one scripture. Here you have Paul quoting precepts, going through the precepts, teaching, because through thy precepts you get the understanding. Paul understood that. You can read Romans 7:1, Baba Bashar.
There's Romans 7:1. It says, what? Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law have dominion over a man as long as he liveth.
So Paul is speaking to those that know the law, those that received the law by the hand of Moses, those who forefathers crossed through that Red Sea, as it says in the book of Corinthians. You got it, King.
Go back to it. Going back to Romans 10, say what? It says, but to Israel he saith, all day long I have stretched forth my hands unto a disobedient and gainsaying people.
Yeah, and why is he making reference to Israel if they're supposed to be heathen? Why is he talking about Israel?
Right.
Because it's for Israel. He's talking to the Israelites. He's not talking to no heathen.
He said, I speak to them that know the law.
He speak to those that know the law. Hey, this epistle was written to the saints, those holy people, put apart by the hand of God.
And then too, let me get a quick account just to show y'all through the Spirit. Let me get Acts 18. Let me show y'all through the Spirit, probably how about Shemal Shah, how these heathens feel. All right, let's show how I feel, man. I'm gonna start at 12. It says what? Hold on, actually, let me see. All right, bet. I'm gonna start at 12. It says, and when Gallio was the deputy of Achaia, the Jews made insurrection with one accord against Paul and brought him to the judgment seat, saying, this fellow persuaded men to worship God contrary to the law. But it says, and when Paul was now about to open his mouth, Gallio said unto the Jews, if it were a matter of wrong or wicked lewdness, O ye Jews, reason would that I should bear with you. But if it be a question of words and names and of your law, look ye to it. For I will be no judge in such matters. And he drave them from the judgment seat. So this is going to show you, hold on, why would Paul be talking to people who don't give a darn about the laws of God? And Paul just said, I speak to them that know the law.
See that?
So hold on. So Romans, they don't care about what we got going on. He just said, look, if it was a matter of wrong or wicked lewdness, pretty much according to Roman law or civilization, all right, then, I would kind of deal with you. But if it's a question about words and names and your law, he said, you deal with that. He said, ain't been no judge in such matters. Why? Because he don't care. So you can't say Paul writing Romans 11, trying to plead with regular heathens to come into this thing and be grafted in when they don't care. Paul said, look, I speak to them that know the law while he's writing the book of Romans, the epistle. All right. So why would he be talking to people who don't care about this? This man had a whole chance opportunity to cast judgment, all right, between Jews and Paul. And he said, I'm not doing that. I don't have nothing to do with that. That has nothing to do with me. I'm not going to be judge of such matters. You deal with that. That's your law. That's your words. That's your names. That's your prophecies. That's your breakdowns. All right. So that's plain.
That's plain.
That's plain. Let's go back to it. All right. Let's deal with it. Go book of Romans. You want to start 11 yet or no?
Unless you had like a precept or a point.
That's pretty much it on that.
You got it down.
This is book of Romans, chapter 11, and verse number 1. It says, what I say then. So Paul picking up He just got finished talking at 10. Now he picking up. After he just said what he said at the end of 10, Paul say, look, I say then, have God cast away his people? Because Paul just talked about Israel being disobedient, gainsaying, basically pulling away the shoulder, not wanting to listen, not wanting to hear this thing. So Paul posing a question, a rhetorical question. It says, I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid, meaning no. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. So Paul telling you, like, God didn't cast away his people. I'm an Israelite too. Look, I'm right here in the flesh. From the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. I'm an Israelite. I'm right here. So no, God ain't cast away his people, because Israel being disobedient and hard-headed, that's not even a new thing in the earth.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's not new. Paul is very familiar with that. He knew the law. He knew the prophets. He knew about the book of Judges. He knew all this history on his people. He knew about Israel being extremely hard-headed, disobedient, and rebellious. But even from the beginning, the Lord had already said that, look, I already know, my people going to be hard-headed. They're going to go off, but I'm still going to bring them back from the four corners of the earth, from all these nations that they've been scattered. And I'm going to put the law in them. All right, now it all starts with a remnant, obviously, with elect. But the point is, just because Israel was hard-headed and disobedient and we got these curses upon us, that don't mean we was utterly banished for all eternity, and that's just it. And now salvation could be for anybody who wants it. No. All right, because guess what? The Lord had to elect from the foundation of the world. So no matter how many bad Israelites there is, there's always going to be a righteous remnant who this thing is really all for and about.
All right, I want to get a quick precept on that as well.
I'll get one after you.
Let's get the book of Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 35.
Classic. Book of Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse number 35. Reads, it says, what? Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. It says what? If those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever.
See that? So the Lord said, if these things can cease, and in Israel they will cease. And the Lord set these instruments of light up for a reason, just like how he set the nation of Israel for a reason. So this just goes to show you that the Lord would never cast away his people at all. And the Lord loved Israel. Let's get Deuteronomy real quick. The 7th chapter, I believe. 7 and verse number 7.
7 and 7. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 7. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
So the Lord, he chose us because he loved us. And he didn't choose Edom. He didn't love Edom. He didn't choose these other nations because he didn't love them. But he loved Yasha'Allah. That's why he chose us. So Israel is going to continue being a nation. He's the nation. Israel is the nation the Lord have chosen to govern this world. It's still prophecies that have to be fulfilled. So if it's still prophecies of Israel receiving a kingdom, receiving everlasting life, how can you Christians go against the prophecies that have been written and say Israel have discontinued from becoming a nation? That's off. You teaching against the scriptures. You're teaching against the prophecies that the Lord have set up. And didn't the Lord say, if the prophet who's not speaking in my name, if he's saying peace and peace, and there's no peace, that prophet is going to be destroyed, in the book of Jeremiah. So you can't just be lying on the prophets. You can't just be lying and saying something's going to happen or something did happen rather, and it didn't, You got it, King.
Quick precept, hop in there. The classic, right? Psalms 94, verse number 14. It says what? It says, for the Lord will not cast off his people, neither will he forsake his inheritance. So the Lord not just finna forsake his inheritance, man. All right, the Lord not just casting off Israel. And then, too, back to what Abba brought out in Jeremiah 31 and 35, that just go to show you that it's impossible for us to be cast off as a people.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible. Look at the criteria that the Lord said that real quick, just real quick. That's one of my favorite precepts, man. That's one of my favorite precepts. Look at the criteria Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai said that you have to meet for his people to be cast away. Just look at this. This is going to show you how foolish it is. It's like a fool who don't even think such. You tell what, King?
It's like it too. I didn't even read verse 7. We didn't even read verse. It's like at 37.
Con. We gonna get the whole thing. Read this one more time. Psalms 94. That was very plain. 94 and 14 was very plain. It says what? Jeremiah 31 and 35. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. So telling you what the Lord do, like gave the sun for a light by day, gave the ordinance of the moon and the stars for a light by night, and he divided the seas and the waves thereof. Right? I mean, it's like he divided the seas, and he divided the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. It says what? If those ordinances depart from before me. Now hold on. Most High said, if those ordinances, if the sun could stop being a light by day, if the ordinances of the moon and the stars can stop being a light by night, if those ordinances depart from before the Lord, it says, what saith the Lord? Then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Now hold on. If you could stop those things from happening, if you could stop the ordinances of the things that the Lord created, then Israel will finally cease from being a nation before the Lord forever. It says, what? Thus saith the Lord, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith the Lord. So the Lord saying, hold on, look, I'll make it even better for you. I ain't even gonna limit you to just those who make you another few things. All right, okay, measure the heaven above. All right, and the foundations of the earth. Search all of that out. So if you could do all of this stuff, then Israel will finally stop being a nation. So just look at the criteria. You would have to be a madman to attempt any of these things. That's one. Two, these things are impossible to be done. So it's automatically telling you by default, Israel would never be cast off. It's impossible. What man is going to measure the heavens above? Who is going to do that? But that's how you, that just go to show you one.
Salakia too as well. Hey, Esau, they said they didn't even finish discovering the whole the sea.
Right.
They said they didn't even discover the whole sea. So how can you measure these things? You can't.
And they ain't even or they ain't even discover all the world.
Yep.
They ain't even discover all the possible land that there is. All right. But that just go to show you one, the so-called white man who came up with this disgusting doctrine, that our people bite off of. Okay, this horrible bread. All right, it's going to show you one. They do want to try to cast off. They want us to be cast off. Esau try to be the world's greatest scientist. He try to measure this and measure that and say the ocean is this deep and we are X amount of kilometers from and light years from such and such. It show you they try to be God and they do want us to be cast off. They're trying to attempt to do these things. Then the Chinese man try to make his own sun and it blew up. All right. They tried to stop the ordinances of the sun and of the moon and make their own thing. So they try these things because of the pride of man.
It's like it too. And they still allegedly, so-called finding new creatures. So how can you say Israel is cast off if you haven't even done, those simple things,
What do you tell Ezra? Hey, so go measure the wind or something.
The weight of fire.
Go measure the weight of fire. All right.
The voice.
Straight up and down. Let's we could dive back into it. So yeah, Israel never be cast off. And real quick, just to link up with Psalms 94 and 14. Let me go to Deuteronomy. Prove who the Lord's inheritance is. Real quick. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32. in verse number 8. It says what? Well, yeah, I'm gonna start at 8. 9 is the point though. It says, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. So the Lord's inheritance is Yasha'Allah, man, Israel. All right. So the Lord not going to forsake his inheritance. He's not forsaking his people. He's not forsaking Israel. It's just not happening. All right. That's plain. Let's go back to it. The book of Romans, right, chapter 11. Read verse 1 again. It says, what I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. It says, God have not cast away his people which he foreknew. What ye not, what the scripture saith of Elias, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thy altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. But what saith the answer of God unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. So this is actually beautiful right here in all actuality. All right. Because it's just going to show you that even when Israel is in the wrong, all right, as a nation, there's always a righteous remnant in the midst. Because it said what? It said that Elijah was making intercession to the Most High against Israel, because Israel was going on. All right. Jezebel was killing the prophets. Ahab is allowing it. All right. You got all these other these kings getting angry with the prophets. All right, with the priests. All right. They getting mad at them, trying to kill them and slay them and all things of that nature. All right. But guess what? In the midst of all hell breaking loose, is always an elect remnant. And let's get the account that he paraphrasing. And that's just another dagger that, Paul, he's dealing with the so-called Old Testament. Paul would never utter stupid stuff like the Old Testament don't matter. No, he's literally using it to break things down to you.
Yeah, he wasn't using the New Testament teaching.
Right. Like, I don't want to say it the wrong way, but like he is the New Testament, obviously, but he's in that time period doing all these things that's being scribed out.
Mm-hmm.
The St. Kings 19. 18. Okay. Don't tell me I'm one off. Salaki Israel.
Salaki, first Kings 18.
Had the book, had a whole name, kind of messed up the whole road. Salaki.
Where's it? 19? First Kings. Yeah, 18 and 9. Yeah, 18 and 19. You can start at 17. First Kings 18 and 17.
This book of First Kings chapter 18, verse 17. And it came to pass when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said unto him, art thou he that troubleth Israel? And you see that Jake saying no. Jake saying the righteous man of God is you the one troubling Israel because of the rebuke, because of the reproof. All right. How you gonna call the good guy? Look, woe to them that call good evil and evil good. See that? It says what, verse 18, and he answered, I have not troubled Israel, but thou in thy father's house, in that ye have forsaken the commandments of the Lord, and thou hast followed Baalim. All right, he kind of cut it to him. He said, look, it ain't me. All right, I ain't trouble Israel. That's you. All right. It says, now therefore send and gather to me all Israel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450.
Salaki. First Kings 19 and 18.
Yeah, that whole thing fire right there. About to read the whole chapter.
Yeah.
First Kings 18, that's when he set them up and told them, hey, look, we're gonna see. Y'all call on your God. Let's see who fire come down. Let's see if Baal do that for y'all. And I'm gonna call on my God. I'm gonna call on Yahweh Shemel Shai. Then they God kind of didn't come through for them, and they end up getting slayed.
Mm-hmm.
This First Kings 19 and 18, it says, what? Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which have not kissed him. So the Lord, Paul, let me back on our First Kings 19 and 18. It's like it for that, Israel. But nevertheless, that's what he let me back on off of, as he's talking to the church at Rome. So the Lord always dealing with a remnant. All Israelites not just off in evil.
And you know the Lord always dealing with a remnant, because every time you see except the salvation of Exodus, of course he redeemed, all Israel, but when you actually go into the history, some, was going off and things of that nature, but they eventually got killed. But even them getting to the promised land, it was still a remnant that actually experienced all that, Joshua and Caleb, and they seen everything and they received the promised land. But even the flood, the Lord saved, 8 souls.
Yeah.
Lot and his children, they got redeemed out of Sodom and Gomorrah when they got destroyed. So you see it a plethora of times when the Lord deals with that remnant of people receiving that salvation. It's not a new concept. And that's what Paul is kind of, teaching and letting people know. Even when you read, let's get Isaiah chapter, what is that? Isaiah chapter, is that 5 and 7?
I know you got 1 and 7 through 9. They say we'd be at Sodom and Gomorrah.
I think that's what I want.
I got you. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 1. I'm going to start at verse 7 and read all the way down to 9. It says, your country is desolate. Your cities are burnt with fire. Your land, strangers devour it in your presence. And it is desolate as overthrown by strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Except the Lord of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant. We should have been at Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah.
See that? So the Lord, he's always dealing with that remnant to kind of, show his mighty works. That remnant to show his mercy, You got it, King.
And that's plain as it's gonna get. All right. That's extremely plain. The Lord always dealing with a remnant, man.
Like it. I got one more if you ain't have one.
You go ahead, King.
Romans chapter 9, verse 27.
This book of Romans chapter 9 and verse 27 says what? It says, Esaias also crieth concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved.
That's plain upon tables. Plain. The Lord is dealing with a remnant. The Lord is dealing with a remnant. So Paul is making a point here. Literally making a point through the Spirit.
I think it's one more.
As well, he's speaking about, the mercy of the Lord, the grace of the Lord. So, hey, you Christians, stop, manipulating what Paul's saying. Stop, adding to the text. Stop saying Israel is done away with. That's off. That's literally going against prophecy.
Yeah,
I want
to hop in there real quick with this classic in Second Ezra chapter 8. Love this precept. The book of Second Ezra chapter 8, and I'm gonna get straight to the point. Well, it's really 1 and verse 3, but I read 1 real quick. And he answered me, saying, the Most High have made this world for many, but the world to come for few. Verse 3, there be many created, but few shall be saved. So the Lord always deal with, it's only gonna be a remnant. All right, it's only gonna be few. It's not for everybody. It's many people created, but only few gonna be saved. We witnessed. I ain't gonna say we witnessed, but we witnessed that via the precepts in Genesis, like the brother already mentioned with Noah. It was many people created back then. Only 8 souls on that ark. All right. So it's the same thing, with the world to come. This present world, it's many people here, but a lot of people gonna die and be destroyed. And Lord, we don't have to be a part of that death and destruction. Unless we die as righteous martyrs, other than that, it can't be no other than that, right? It gotta be the only way, die righteously for the Lord, or, if our time come before dying righteously for the Lord, maybe natural cause or something, still elect all Lord will, all right? But that world that's to come is only for a few, and it's only for the elect. It's really only for the elect. All right. Dive back into it. Lord always dealing with that remnant, man. And that is the Lord's grace, us not being cast away. All right. It says what? But what saith the answer of God unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Even so, then, at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace.
Election of grace. It's literally an election of grace. That don't mean, you know, everybody receives that grace. It's an election of it. So some people, hey, the 2/3, they don't have grace. They're going to be destroyed. The heathen, they're not a part of that election of grace. They're going to be destroyed or put into chains, preserved to be damn slaves in the kingdom of heaven. So, hey, that election, can I get a quick precept real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Ephesians chapter 2 and verse number 6. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 6.
Book of Ephesians chapter 2, verse number 6. It says what? And have raised us up together.
So, like, can you start at verse 4?
Yeah, I started at verse 4. It says what? But God, who is rich in mercy, for his great love, wherewith he loved us.
He loved us. Hey, and even this, the epistle of Ephesians is written to the saints. When you read 1 in verse 1. So that mercy is for his saints. Read.
It says what? Even when we were dead in sins, have quickened us together with Christ. By grace you are saved.
By grace you are saved. And that's what, you know, Paul is saying. Through grace we are saved. It's not about, you know, the numbers. The Lord's deal with that remnant according to his grace. You got it, King.
That's plain. The Lord dealing with that remnant according to grace, man. Like the brothers just said. Let me see if it's anything else I want to grab on that. That's pretty much it. That's plain. It says what? Even so, then at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. And if by grace, then is it no more of works? Oh, and quick point too, Salaki. That's John 1 and 17. You know that Yahushua he brought grace and truth.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
grace and
truth. Yep, grace and truth and mercy. It come by Yahushua.
That's right.
You know, I wanted to make that point too. That's what I did want to say. You know,
grace and truth.
Yeah, grace and truth. It came by Yahushua. It says what? And if by grace, then is it no more of works? Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then is it no more grace? Otherwise, work is no more work. So what Paul is simply saying is, like the brother pretty much already cleared up with Ephesians 2 and 4. This thing is by grace. It's not really of works because the elect already been sealed from the foundation of the world. All right, the Lord already had that grace stored up for the elect since then. From the foundation of the world, the Lord said, look, there's 144,000 men, you know, there's 1/3, look, they're gonna have my grace upon them. They've already been sealed. But the reason why you know you can't get off with being evil because of this is grace, the elect is righteous and they keep the commandments. So the elect not gonna abuse the grace and mercy of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Just because, you know, Paul saying what he's saying right here, that is not of works. All right, the elect not gonna get confused and start thinking like, oh, I don't have to keep the commandments anymore. I can do what I want. Like, no, that's foolish. What all Paul saying is in context is that we have a remnant according to grace, not by works. All right. That grace is the mercy of the Lord to have a remnant of righteous men, women, and children anyway. All right. Something righteous got to come out of this earth, man. Out of all these people on this earth, everybody not just about to sit here and be wicked. And guess what? It's all of Israel, of the elect. It's 12,000. All right, from each tribe, 144. Then you got the 1/3 is of Israel as well, and Zechariah. So the only people that could shoot forth righteousness in any capacity on this earth is the Israelites. All right. And the Lord put that grace and mercy on us. So y'all got to deal with it. You're going to have to, I wouldn't advise you to argue with the Most High, but that's who you got to talk to. All right.
It's like as well. And that's against what the Christians say, you know, how they say they saved already. So they basically saying they already a part of that election of grace. You know, they sealed. They the elect. And you had this Edomite, he said he was the elect.
Yeah, he did say that at camp. Edomite called himself the elect. You can't proclaim yourself to be the elect.
That's
all right. Paul said, I dare not make myself that number. All right. So that's madness. I'm reading one more time. It says, and if by grace, then is it no more of works. So this remnant is according to grace. It's according to the mercy of the Most High. Like the account he brought out, the Lord reserved to himself 7,000 men. That was grace and mercy right there. All right. He put it in 7,000 men to look, and we ain't kissing nothing. We ain't bowing down to nothing. We're not worshiping no idols. It says, otherwise, grace is no more grace, but if it be of works, then is it no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work.
So like a quick point as well. Hey, his grace allowed them not to bow to that image. You know? So his grace is allowing us to keep these commandments. The same concept. His grace is going to allow the elect to keep his commandments, to be blameless in the spirit. So you got it, King.
Con. I'm keep reading on this. You want to grab a few more precepts on that? You good?
No, you good. You can keep reading.
Con, verse 7. It says, what then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded.
See that?
So this thing is not even for even all of Israel ain't gonna be saved. On the well, let me see how I want to word it. You know, you got what do you call it, textual criticism or whatever. What you be saying about?
You got to qualify. Gotta make sure you're saying it right for Jake. You know?
Yeah, for Jake's sake. All right. So you got to be part of that 1/3, man, or that 144. All right, to make it. You know, then the rest of Israel is going to know the law after death by pain. Like it tell you, was that 9?
Come.
Yep, the 9th chapter.
9 and 11.
Because it say Paul hope is that all Israel be saved. All right, but you got 2/3 going to have to be destroyed. Then they're going to know the law after death by pain.
Even Paul said, all Israel is not of Israel, you know?
Yeah, so all Israel not just finna be the other lake and just make it on, you know, the first go around or whatever. Because it ain't a second go around. When y'all shall return, you know, look, either you elect or you not.
I got a quick precept as well. Matthew, the 13th chapter. 13 verse. Start at verse 16. I'm going to start it with
whoever yours to hear.
You can start at verse number. You start at 10.
Yeah.
You start
at Matthew chapter 13 and verse number 10. It says, and the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables?
So, Yahweh Shai, he wasn't explaining to everybody. He wasn't explaining the deep, dark parables to everybody. It was even a remnant receiving the understanding of those parables. You know, read.
It says, what? He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given.
So was Christ a meanie for keeping secrets, for only explaining certain things to certain people? Was he a meanie for that? No. These parables, these mysteries is only revealed to the Lord's elect. So who the Lord want it to be revealed to, right?
It says what? For whosoever have to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever have not, from him shall be taken away, even that he had.
All right, read.
Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they see not. In hearing, they hear not, neither do they understand.
So some people, they don't understand. They might not ever understand. Read.
It says what? And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Esaias, which saith, by hearing ye shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see and shall not perceive.
So certain people, they don't understand. They can't perceive because they are blinded. This is what Paul is speaking about. Some people are literally blinded from the truth. Read. And they had that veil over their eyes. You know, they still can't understand and fathom. It's some people that the Old Testament only, and they don't believe in Christ. They can't. That veil is over their eyes. They can't even see Christ in the so-called Old Testament. You know,
yeah.
Read.
It says, "What for this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes have they closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, and shall understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them."
So, hey, it's people that's blinded from this truth. And when you read the next verse,
it says, "What? But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear."
And it's a blessing to be able to perceive and understand, you know, the mysteries of the Lord, you know, to a certain extent. Or rather, it's a blessing to understand what the Lord have given us according to his grace. Word it like that. You know, you got it, King.
God. So yeah, everybody can't get it. Everybody can't get it. I'm gonna go to Isaiah real quick, 29. This thing, yep, it's only for that remnant. It's book of Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 11. Oh, I didn't click to go through, so I can't. Book of Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 10. It says, "For the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and have closed your eyes. The prophets, the rulers, the seers have he covered, and a vision of all is become unto you, as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed." So the understanding of this truth is completely blocked off and sealed from people. You know, and in context, this is Israel. You have a portion of Israel, this truth is just blocked off from them. It's just sealed. All right. That deep sleep is upon them, and their eyes is just closed, meaning what? They're just blind to this truth. They blind to the truth, they blind to the understanding, they blind to Yahushua. They blind to the Most High. All right. So that's the bitter end of the stick. You know, it's not for everybody. Look, your mama probably can't get it. Your uncle probably can't get it. Your own brother might not be able to get it. Your sister. But the Lord chose you, Lord willing, to be a part of that remnant for you to get it, Lord willing. And not only get it and receive it, but to endure and make an election sure.
It's like we can continue reading. I believe it was at verse
7. We're probably on 8 now. It says, what I read 7 again. What then? Have Israel not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. So whoever this truth meant for, overall speaking in general, they'll get it. But if it ain't meant, then the other people, the other portion of Israel will be blinded.
Mm-hmm.
It says, what? As it is written, according as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear unto this day.
See that?
And David saith, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them.
He's touching on the same thing Isaiah touched on.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as well, he's speaking about Christ. Some people Christ was made a stumbling block to certain people. That's why some people, they can't just wrap their head around it. Man, he died for my sins, so it just don't make sense to them. You know, Christ is literally a stumbling block for certain individuals, but to other individuals, he's made that foundation, that chief cornerstone. You know, you got it, King.
Khan. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You know, Yahushua, he's it's definitely, going to him as well, because he's that stumbling block for a lot of the Jews. They didn't accept Yahushua. All right. They had that veil. All right. It says, what, according as it's written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear. And David saith, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. Let me just quick piece up. Let me see. Real quick.
So he's quoting that from Psalms 11 and 9 through 10.
Kind. Then I got Psalm 69 and 23. Well, really 22.
It's like I quoted the wrong thing. He's quoting that from Psalm 69.
Yeah. Now I'm looking right at it. I'm gonna flip to it first.
You got to grab it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Psalm 69 and verse number 22. It says, let their table become a snare before them. And that, can you still see the screen, King? Okay, God. It says, let their table become a snare before them, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. And Yahushua, he would have been for the Jews' welfare.
Mm-hmm.
Those specific Jews that denied him, but it's a trap for them now, because through them denying Yahushua, that immediately opens up the door for the Israelite foreigners, for our Gentile-minded brothers and sisters. So yeah, Yahushua definitely would have been for their welfare, because he's the truth, he's the light, he's the way. All right, you gotta accept the Son and get through the Son in order to get to the Father. All right, but it's become a trap, because now you deny Yahushua, that's gonna get you destroyed. All right, it says, what? Let their eyes be darkened, that they see not, and make their loins continue to shake. So their eyes is darkened, they can't see or perceive Yahushua, which means what? On a deeper level, they can't really see through to the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing with the Jews. They thought, like, yeah, we know God. Yeah, we do. Well, hold on. If you did, then you would know that he sent Yahushua. All right, you would have understood the prophecies, all the double folds, all the wisdom that doubles that which is in the so-called Old Testament. That was all talking about Yahushua all along. So when he did hop on the scene, it wouldn't be no marvel that it's really him. They're like, oh no, you doing these things in the name of Beelzebub and all this. Just coming up with ways to deny him more. All right.
Let's get Isaiah chapter 8, verse 14.
Look, Isaiah
8, verse 14.
Look, Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 14. It says, and he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling.
And it's the same thing. It's like it's the same thing David is mentioning, how Christ will be, that for that sanctuary, but also that stone for stumbling, because certain people could. He was literally that foundation for those that received that grace, and he was a stumbling block for those that was not supposed to receive that grace, that didn't receive, wasn't a part of that election of grace. Right?
It says what? Salakia. And he shall be for a sanctuary, before a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel, and Salakia, for the house of Israel, for gin, and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many among them shall stumble and fall, and be broken, and be snared, and be taken.
And that's exactly what happened to those who didn't receive that election of grace. They stumbled and fell. They was blinded by the truth. You got it, King.
Want to keep reading on that?
Kyle, you can go back to Romans.
So that's plain. They stumbled and failed. They denied Yahushua. but it's all the Lord's doing. Quick precept, real quick, just came to mind. So like it. First Kings 12.
God.
See if that's what I want. Let me keep scrolling. Hold on, I think I went past it. Right here. I think this is what I want. Hold on, let me see. Nope. Hold on. Yeah, right here. This is what I want. So this is when the kingdom split. First King 12. You had Rehoboam. He was gonna get ready to basically bring Northern Kingdom right back after they had departed. It says what? This whole thing fiery. Hey, yeah. I ain't gonna read this whole thing. I'm gonna get straight to the point. But I'm gonna just go to 23. It says what? First Kings 12 and 23. Speaking to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and unto all the house of Judah and Benjamin, and to the remnant of the people, saying, Thus saith the Lord, ye shall not go up, nor fight against your brethren, the children of Israel. Return every man to his house, for this thing is from me. They hearken therefore to the word of the Lord, and return to depart according to the word of the Lord. So even from all the way back then, it said the Most High, look, he planned this thing already out, man. He said, look, this thing for me to have splitting the kingdom up, because Rehoboam was going to try to bring it all back together as one. But the Lord told me, he said, look, don't even do it. Don't even do it. Look, this from me for this thing to be split up and divided. You want to know why? Because through the Jews denying Yahushai, now Northern Kingdom could be grafted back in. Because the Lord split it up from the get-go, all the way from 1 Kings 12. He split it up on purpose. All right, because guess what? You're going to have Jews that stiff-necked and hard-headed and don't want to believe in Yahushua. And the same Northern Kingdom that's cast afar off, they're going to be grafted back in. And Hellenized Jews, so on and so forth. So it just made me think of that.
God.
So this been the Lord's doing from old to split this thing up so they could be grafted back in. It says what? Revelation 11 and verse 11. I say, then have they stumbled that they shall fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is coming to the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy. So the Jews, it say what? Have they stumbled that they shall fall? God forbid, meaning no, but rather through their fall. All right, salvation is coming to the Gentiles. And that's going to provoke the Jews to jealousy. All right. So that's really all it is. It ain't even that they should fall, like in whatever ways somebody may try to make it seem, not Chris try to break it down, but it's really just all part of the Lord plan for real. All right. They fall so salvation, the opportunity of salvation can be brought to the Gentiles. That's really all it is. It says, now if the fall of them be the riches of the world and the diminishing of them, the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness. All right. So if them falling, and that word is Israel, Isaiah 45:17. All right. So if the Jews fall and deny Yahushua, all right, if that be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them be the riches of the Gentiles. So if them messing up, so-called, is a good thing for the Gentiles, it says how much more their fullness. So how much better is it going to be? All right, when we all come one and the same, how much better is it going to be, that fullness, when you got the Jews that's believing, right? Then you got the Gentiles, the Israelite foreigners, they believing. How beautiful is this thing going to be all in one? It says what? For I speak to you Gentiles, and as much as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. So Paul said, look, I'm trying to provoke emulation them which are my flesh, the Jews. What you about to say about it?
Quick point as well. You can literally see this whole chapter, ever since we got to the point of verse 11, from 1 all the way down to 10, it's literally talking about Israel. When it mentions 11, the Gentiles, it's still talking about Israel. It still hasn't changed. This whole chapter is still going into Israel. The mercy that the Lord is speaking about, the remnant and grace that the Lord have distributed unto Israel. That's literally what it's speaking about. And it's happened. This diminishing, the fall of the Jews happened to bring, these foreigners back in, to reconcile them back. That's why when you read, let's get Ephesians real quick, chapter 2, verse 11, classic. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 11. It says, wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. So you literally had the Jews, getting on the Gentiles, getting on the foreigners, the Israelite foreigners, because they fell away from their customs. But how can you used to be a Gentile in the flesh? It's speaking about the works and the things they was doing. In the book of, you ain't got to put it up on the screen. I'm going to bring it out. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 1.
106, 35.
106 and 34. And it reads, like 35, you're right. It says, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works, and they served their idols, which were a snare unto them. So you had Israel going off, following after the ways of the customs. It's like following the customs of the heathens, and eventually started living that lifestyle, adopted that lifestyle, and now they are Gentiles in the flesh. They're uncircumcised. They're following other gods, and they're heathen, essentially. That's why they was called uncircumcision. The heathen, they bear forth that title. It's the same title as it's the same thing as being called a heathen, a Gentile through the Spirit. It says, reading on, if you scroll down a little bit, it says that at that time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of the promise, it's like of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. And this was us. We were strangers from the commonwealth of Israel. We was aliens. We was without Christ. In the world, without God in the world.
Yep.
It's the same concept. Paul is going to these foreigners, these Israelite foreigners, and bringing them back into Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Reading on, it says, it's like in verse number 13, but now in Hamashiach, Yahushua, you who sometimes were far off are made nigh by the blood of God. Verse number 14, and that's a good point as well, because Christ's blood essentially reconciled us back. A reconciliation, Romans 11 is really just going into reconciliation. That's the breakdown, essentially. Reconciliation and grace. Reading on this last verse, for he is our peace, who have made both one and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us. You got it, King.
Khan. That's plain. That's really all it is. It's a reconciliation. That's all. It's just Israelite foreigners being grafted back in, and like Paul said, he trying to provoke those emulation of his own flesh. Get the Jews to believe, in Yahushua, and just pretty much just graft Israelite foreigners back in. Is this a reconciliation, reconciling them back to the Lord?
It's like you got scoffers on the comment board. He said false religion, God saves Jew and Gentile. All people, all colors, if they repent and believe in Christ as the perfect sacrifice for. Hey, it's madness. It's madness.
That's folly.
On sinners.
See, you say false religion, God saves Jews and Gentiles. Whole time, yeah, God do save Jews and Gentiles. Yeah. The Israelite Gentiles, because the Israelites, New Testament, are Israelites. All right, are Israel. I don't see how could you read the whole Romans 11, all right, and see that this is all about Israel and still say something contrary. Especially how Paul ended off. All right. Like it's daggers with even within the chapter itself. We ain't even made it there yet. You know, time is moving quickly. You know, for part two. It just cut up scoffers like whoever that is.
God.
It's all daggers, man.
Alex Lanza.
Play these games, man. That's why we don't even look at the comment board because y'all just be crazy.
Kind of, yeah, it's madness.
Y'all be crazy. Y'all ain't know what y'all talk about.
We
could prove ours better and more than y'all could ever.
Yeah, where y'all breakdowns?
Y'all have a weak foundation. Y'all don't have no breakdown at all. Y'all don't go precept upon precept or none of that. All right, we could prove our stance way better than y'all could prove yours. And we know we standing on is right, but just saying, if we had to sit here and really put it on the floor and go toe to toe, we could back up what we say way better than what y'all backing up what y'all say. Y'all don't even have no precepts
at all.
Y'all take the precepts and manipulate them. That's not. We actually go precept upon precept, how the Bible supposed to be broken down. All right, playing upon tables.
God. And I actually want to pull up the definition on etymology.com if you can of reconciliation, because when you read Romans the 9th chapter 9 and 3 on down, it speaks about us being reconciled, or it's another word actually that he used, reconciliation, grafted in. It's another word. It's like, yeah. Kind of says renewal of friendship after disagreement or enmity. So let me find this precept real quick. Kind, you got it, okay?
I mean, even this definition cut up you scoffers. All right, when was the Lord ever friends or locked in with these other nations? All right, it's a renewal of friendship after disagreement or enmity. Then we go off and make the Lord mad.
See that?
Then we sin. All right, so that friendship, according to this definition, is being renewed between the Most High and Israel. All right,
by Christ.
Then you read about that, and Yahushua, obviously. All right, you read about that in Hosea. Okay, that's the first chapter. I mean, that's the whole book.
Yeah, the whole book.
All right, Hosea, man. The Lord, you know, we as a wife unto the Lord, man. That's why we got to be married to Yahushua, man. All right. So yeah, we was committing adultery, metaphorically, spiritually speaking, by idolatry, and now the Lord is showing mercy and bringing us back, man. I mean, that's all it is. This friendship is being renewed. This relationship, you got it, King.
Kind as well. That's the other word I was looking for. Adoption, reconciliation, grafted back in. These are all one and the same concept. Paul, he just used them. He just used them in different epistles, but it's all speaking about the same thing: reconciliation, adoption, and being grafted in. It's the same concept. It's the renewal of friendship after disagreement or enmity, action of reaching accord with an adversary or one estranged, and that's playing upon tables. Literally playing upon tables.
Super plain. There's no way to get around that. Y'all gotta give up. Just cut it out. Back to Romans 11. Let me see if anything else I want to touch on. Yes, yep. All right, this Romans 11, and 15. It says, "What? For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead?" All right. So if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what would the receiving of them be? It would be life from the dead, man. All right. I mean, that's plain. All right. And that world is Israel. Okay. It says what? For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. And Bob brought that out earlier. I mean, who is even holy to begin with? All right, what people on this earth to even begin with? All right. It says what? And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in amongst them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee.
It's like you
All right.
too. A lot of Christians, they try to this is the verse they use to try to add or invite. I don't even know what word to use. Invite them heathen into the olive tree of Yasha Olive. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say heathens. Now you're a part of the olive tree. That's off. It's speaking about those that was broken off. You have to understand the history of the Bible.
Yeah.
Israel literally split as a nation. They went inside Northern Kingdom, went into idolatry. The Lord put them away. You read about this in Jeremiah, the first chapter, Hosea, the whole book, and the Jews, they got Hellenized. Some of the Jews got Hellenized. Not all of them. Some of the Jews got Hellenized. So you have to understand the history of the scriptures. So when he's bringing these or grafting these back among them, he's speaking about those that have fallen away from the olive tree to begin with.
Right.
Not those that's a part of a damn pine tree, but those that was already originally a part of the olive tree.
Right. That's why I say the branches, the natural branches, they broken off. All right. Like you say, you go into the history of it. A lot of our people was Hellenized. A lot of the Jews got Hellenized. You read First Maccabees. All right. You had a lot of Jews that they fell away from the covenants, the laws of their fathers. All right. And then you had a decent amount that still stood strong as well. So really, you can't, like the brother said, you can't just take a pine tree branch and just throw it into the olive tree now. All right. That's the Lord, not the author of confusion. All right. So the way y'all wing it is just madness. All right. Y'all don't say, well, who is this tree? Y'all don't want to identify the tree. Y'all don't want to see who in the Bible is even talked about as an olive tree. None of it. Y'all just wing it and just say, oh, some branches broken off, and we just gonna add any old branches back to it. That's not how you repair something. All right. Even with a dang car, whatever engine fall out, gonna have to be the same one put back in. You can't just throw a random engine in there and say, look, yeah, we're gonna add this engine to it. That's madness. All right, you don't add all these wild new parts. You're just trying to build something new no. All right. Let me see what I want to get on that real quick. Man, let me get the classic. Jeremiah 11. Who is this tree, man? Y'all just skip over that part. Y'all don't care. It's Jeremiah 11 and 16. It says what? It says, the Lord called thy name, a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit. With the noise of a great tumult, he hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. It's talking about Israel, man. All right. Judah. Okay. The Israelites has always been known as the green olive tree. The heathen has not been called a green olive tree. So you can't just wing it and say that's talking about them. Then it talked about the natural branches, which is the Jews. All right. So you can't just, I don't even know how y'all wrap y'all mind around it. I don't want to know. All right. I don't want to know. Even when you read up on verse 13, it says, for according to the number of thy cities were thy gods, O Judah, and according to the number of the streets of Israel, have ye set up altars to that shameful thing, even altars to burn incense unto Baal. Therefore pray not thou for this people, neither lift up a cry or pray for them, for I will not hear them in a time that they cry unto me for their trouble. It says, what have my beloved to do in my house, seeing she have wrought lewdness with many, and the holy flesh is passed from thee? When thou doest evil, then thou rejoicest. The Lord called thy name a green olive tree. So it's literally talking about Israel. You can't just get around that. All right, you can't just skip over that. All right, you kind of crack open the Bible, you read in Romans 11, and then you just skip past that and say it's whatever I want it to be. All right, that's folly. That's off. All right, that's just madness. It says, for if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, talk about northern kingdom. It says, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree. So this is literally just Israel being reconciled, bro. Okay, you got the Jews. All right, a portion of the Jews fell away. They deny Yahweh. This opened up the door for northern kingdom, for Israelite foreigners to be grafted back in, to be reconciled to the Lord. I mean, that's it. That's all. All right, that's it. It's no way to wing this and try to make it for other people, especially as you continue reading down.
I actually want to get a quick precept just to show Israel being, put away. This is Hosea chapter 4. So I'm gonna get to Hosea chapter 2 and verse number. This whole thing is literally good. Hold on. All right, I'm just get the class. We're gonna get Hosea 1. Get straight to the point. Hosea chapter 1 and verse number 7. The book of Hosea is a beautiful book. It literally speaks about, if you read Hosea, you will kind of understand what Romans 11 is going into. Spirit, going precept upon precept, learning the history, and you have to have the spirit of the Lord. Can't just wing it with Hosea. But Hosea chapter 1 verse 7. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah and will save them by the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen. Just speaking of, he would save them by grace, by preserving them through mercy. It says, now when she had weaned Lo Rahamah, she conceived and bare a son. Then said God, call his name Lo Ami, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your God. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. So this literally sums up what Romans 11 is going into. These Gentiles, they wasn't called by being God's people. The Jews was. They was the ones that kept the oracles of God, that didn't fall away from their customs and heritage. A northern kingdom and some of a remnant of the Jews, they got Hellenized. A northern kingdom, they was over here in Arsareth, right? It's like in verse 11. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. So the Lord is going to eventually reconcile all Israel. And Romans 11, it kind of sums it up in the end as well. You got it, King.
That's that grafting in, pointing them one head, because it say what's that in Ezekiel 37? What's that, like 15 on down? It basically talk about how they ain't gonna be so like I don't even want to butcher it. I ain't gonna butcher it. All right, let me just go there. They ain't gonna be two sticks. They're gonna be one. They're gonna be joined together. That's that grafting in, man. Because we two different nations. Let's deal with it. This book of Ezekiel, right there at 37. I'm gonna start at verse 15. It says, the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thy hand. So there go your grafting in right there. That's your grafting in before Romans 11 was even written. All right, they're gonna be joined together. They're gonna be one stick. Okay, so when you reading it, see Romans 11, it's really not even a new concept. If you read the Bible, Romans 11, not even a new concept. Like the brother said, Hosea touch on it practically. All right, Ezekiel 37 touch on it. All right, you actually got accounts before Romans was even written that kind of help you really understand Romans 11 before it was even written, man, about that reconciling or that grafting in, that joining back together. All right, because that's all this going into.
Even Deuteronomy touch on it. He said you're gonna provoke them to jealousy with a nation.
Right, Deuteronomy 32 and 21. All right. Let me see. This whole thing fire, but just wanted to get straight to the point with it. Dive back into it. So the branch was only broken off, because of their unbelief. All right. The branches got broken off, because of their unbelief. Okay. And that just opens up opportunity for Northern Kingdom to come into this thing. And Israelite foreigners, Hellenized Jews, things of that sort as well. And the olive tree is identified as Israel in the Bible too. So that's a cut as well. So don't just skip over that. All right. Don't just skip over that. It says what? It says 18, boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. All right, so don't get puffed up with pride. All right. So you can't, the branches that's being grafted in, they can't boast against the natural branches. All right. They can't, because what? It say, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. And like the brother said, hey, what advantage? It was really Romans 3. What advantage have the Jew? They held fast to the commonwealth. You had Jews who still knew who they was. All right. And I think it said, what it say? Let Judah not offend.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is that's in Hosea 2, ain't it?
That's the one I was looking for.
Yeah, that's let me go there real quick. So all the Jews weren't just completely finishing all of that. No. Let me get that real. They say let Judah not offend, man. And Hosea
4 and 15.
Okay, yeah, that's crazy. I flip right to it. It's the book of Hosea, chapter 4, and verse number 15. It says, though thou Israel play the harlot, yet let not Judah offend, and come not ye into Gilgal, neither go ye up to Bethaven, nor swear the Lord liveth. So, and then hold on, I'm gonna read 17. I'm gonna draw 17. It says, Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone.
Come on.
So Northern Kingdom just went on off. All right. Then when it came to the Southern Kingdom, to the Jews, yeah, you had Jews that went off as well. They kind of fell to the Hellenization. Then some of them was just joining and making covenants with the heathen. But you had many Jews as well that did not offend, that held fast. I mean, look at Mattathias and them. They didn't go off. All right. They was holding it down for the law. Gave their lives zealously for the law. And even after them, you read throughout all the New Testament, so-called, with the Gospels, you had plenty of Jews who knew who they were, was holding fast to the commandments. All right, you had some orphans, obviously, but you still had Judah knowing who they is. Ephraim, it said, let him alone. Look, Ephraim just doing what he's doing. Like the brother said, they was over here. All right, just doing God knows what. All right, and then you had Hellenized Jews. Okay. So no, you can't just boast because the root really bearing you.
And as well as, because that blindness happened to, these Israelite foreigners, you can't boast against the natural branches, because that can happen again to you.
Yeah.
And you have the Jews, they have the laws already. They already have their customs. They just got woke up by they received Christ. And now they kind of, shaking a hand towards Northern Kingdom and the Hellenized Jews. You can't do that same thing back to them. And the Lord can blind you again.
Yeah.
You got to understand the mercy and grace of the Most High.
Kind of. So that's plain, man. That's plain. Let me keep reading. It says, what Thou will say, then the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off. And thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. So, like the brothers, you pretty much just said it already. That could happen to you. Paul said, don't be high-minded, but fear. All right. They was only broken off because of their unbelief. All right. And you stood by faith. But don't be high-minded, but fear, because what? The Lord could do that to you. It say verse 21. For if God spare not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee, lest he also spare not thee. So if the Jews ain't get spared, hey, don't think you just all that in a bag of chips, because the Lord cannot spare you as well. All right. Because that blindness happened for you to be able to come into this thing. Okay. So you can't boast, you can't brag. It says, behold, therefore the goodness and severity of God on them which fail, severity. But towards thee goodness, if thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou also shalt be cut off.
See that?
So as Paul is writing this epistle to the church, to these Romans, the church at Rome, which is Israelites, we already established that. All right. He literally telling them, like, look, you Israelite foreigners that's been brought back to this thing, man. All right, y'all have to continue in this goodness. Yeah, severity, it fell on them. It says, therefore, behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fail. Severity fell on the Jews that didn't believe. That was the severity that fell on them. But towards y'all, you Israelite foreigners, goodness fell on y'all. But that's only if you remain in his goodness. Because guess what? If you don't, you will be cut off too. You will be cut off too. All right. It says, and they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For God is able to graft them in again. Again. So hold on. In order to be grafted in again, you would have to originally have already been a part of it. It can't be again if this is your first time and you new to this. That's not again. So if Paul is telling them again, they had to already be a part of this. So if this was talking about heathens, if this was talking about Edomites, you would have to show where the Edomites were originally a part of this thing. Crickets. Crickets. Because that don't make no sense. All right. It says, and they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. So if they abide not still in unbelief, meaning if they don't keep abiding in their unbelief, but rather believe, they could be grafted in because the Lord is able to graft them in again. So you have Jews that could so-called snap out of it. I mean, if that's why I see why Paul was chose to do this. Paul was a Jew that didn't continue abiding in unbelief. He didn't continue abiding in unbelief. He stopped in that unbelief and started to believe, and he got grafted in.
See that?
Paul himself was grafted in.
As an example.
And like the brother said, perfect example. Who better than somebody like Paul? He was tearing the church up. He is a whole Jew. He knew the law. He was raised at the feet of Gamaliel. All of that stuff. He had the commonwealth. He had the advantage. He had the oracles of God. But he literally denied Yahushua and was torturing other people that believed in Yahushua. But guess what? He didn't abide in his unbelief. Okay, he didn't reside or dwell in his unbelief. He stopped his unbelief. Well, not that he did it himself, but the Lord changed him. All right. And he started to believe. And guess what? Paul got grafted into this thing. And he didn't boast against Peter. He didn't boast against John. He didn't do none of that. It says what? Shall be grafted in, for God is able to graft them in again. So Paul was a part of the natural branches. He knew what was going on. He was part of the Jews. He knew his history. He had the fringes. He knew all of that. He was a Pharisee. All right. But guess what? He didn't know what was going on. He denied Yahushua. He got broken off. All right. But then he woke up to Yahushua and he got grafted in. Mm-hmm. You want to know why? Because he was already there. He was already a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He's Israel. So it can't be again if you're not Israel. That don't make sense.
All right.
And this is plain. Okay, this is plain. It says what? Hold on, real quick. Start up. Well, it's 145. But nevertheless, I was just gonna touch on 2 Corinthians 3, where it talk about the veil. That veil continually on a lot of our people, but the Lord could put that veil off and grab, Jake back in. But I was gonna say,
we got a few more verses on this chapter.
Yeah, it's way more precepts wanted to bring out. The time would fail us. It says what, verse 24? For if thou wert cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and wert grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these which be the natural branches be grafted into their own olive tree?
See that?
We pretty much just said that, but just use Paul as an example. It says, for I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. And what? Verse 26, here's the point. And so all Israel shall be saved. So hold on. Who is these Gentiles right here? They got to come in. Who are they? Because it's no way that all Israel going to be saved and these Gentiles is anything outside of Israelites.
Yeah.
Edomite can't just be an Israelite because they're gonna try to say spiritual Israelite. No, it's no damn spiritual Israelite. That was never a thing. Y'all misconstruing Romans the 2nd chapter. Y'all not breaking it down properly in context, rightly dividing the word of truth. All right. So these Gentiles are indeed Israelites, and that's plain. That's plain. It says what? And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. So hold on, ungodliness being turned away from Jacob. All right. Because guess what? In the kingdom, Satan still he gonna be on the heathen.
Yeah.
All right. And we're gonna get in there, we're gonna teach you, we're gonna break it down to them, Lord willing. We part of that remnant. And if they rebel, Isaiah 16:12, they're gonna be destroyed. All right. They're going to be utterly destroyed. So Paul pretty much capitalizes all this off with all Israel being saved. So you read from 1 all the way down to verse 26, a few more to go. Just like
that verse right afterwards, for the next 2 verses. Was you about to read that, or you going down to another verse?
Yeah, I was going to keep reading it.
Okay, you got it. Slide.
But Paul pretty much tops it all off with all of Israel being saved. It says, what, verse 27, for this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins. Now, hold on. What covenant? Hold on. Is that a part of? What covenant is that a part of? When it say, this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins. The Lord said he's not going to remember our sins no more with the new covenant. All right. And who's the new covenant for? The Israelites.
Quick precept. You ain't got to put it up on the screen. I'll read it. It's Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8. For finding fault with them. Who's that them? Israel. Plain upon tables. It said, and it lines directly up with Romans the 11th chapter. It says, for finding fault with them, he saith, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. And this is northern kingdom and southern kingdom. This is the whole nation of Israel. It says, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continue not in my covenant, and I regard them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their inward mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. The heathen is nowhere mentioned in this. This new covenant is only established with the children of Israel. That's why it says in verse 27 in Romans the 11th chapter, it says, for this is my covenant unto them. That them, it has a proper context. It's speaking about Israel. When I shall take away their sins, speaking about the sins of Israel, they're going to be made perfect in that new covenant. You got it, gang.
There's no account where the Lord said he's taking away the sins of the heathen, bro. There's no account. Where did the Lord say He taking away the sins of the Edomites? Where is that at? All right. Last time I checked, Hebrews 12 and 17, somebody can't even repent.
See that?
All right. It says what? Well, even in Hebrews 8, verse 12, Hebrews 8 and 12, I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities I remember no more. So there you have it. It says, verse 28, as concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sake. But as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sake. For the gifts and calling of God are without repentance, meaning the Lord not changing on that. He's standing on that. It says, for as ye in time past have not believed God, yet have now obtained mercy through their unbelief.
See that?
Even so have these also now not believed, that through your mercy they also may obtain mercy. It says, for God hath concluded them all in unbelief, that he might have mercy upon all.
See that?
So at the end of the day, this thing for Israel, and the Lord willing, all Israel be saved. Well, that's the hope, for all Israel to be saved. All right. So when you read Romans 11, there's no need to get jammed up on who this thing for. It's for the Israelites. All you got to do, really identify one word in this whole chapter: Gentile. Once you identify that the Gentiles is the Israelites, which is kind of playing within itself, I mean, that's it. It's nothing else to talk about.
Kind of as well. Understanding the concept of being grafted in, the adoption, reconciliation, understanding the history of that, of God always sending a savior, a redeemer to the children of Israel, always freeing them out of captivity. Then you will, understand what this is going into. Because let me get this quick precept real quick. Romans 9, classic. It's the book of Romans chapter 9 and verse 4. We'll start at verse 3. And it reads, for I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. It didn't say spirit. It didn't say spiritual Israelite. For I wish I can go through these things for my spiritual brethren. No. It says, who are the Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises. So these things belong to Yasha'Allah, and no heathen, just Israel. You got it, King.
Khan. So yeah, I mean, this thing all for Israel at the end of the day, So it says, as concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sake, but as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sake. So they still beloved, because the Most High did foreknew them. They still Israel at the end of the day. So it say, for the gifts and calling of God are without repentance. It's not going to change. It's not going to be void. It says, for as ye in time past have not believed God, yet have now obtained mercy through their unbelief. Talking about Northern Kingdom. In time past, they didn't believe God. They didn't know, but they didn't obtain mercy through what? The Jews' unbelief. All right. So that's all it is at the end of the day. It's really not, it's not too hard to obtain at all, to understand, Lord, with the Most High, something to allow you to get it. But that's pretty much it on that.
Lord and brothers and sisters edified in the spirit and understood this through the spirit and gained more precept to kind of break this thing down, because Christians, they try to bring out this is one of their so-called scriptures they go to try to save everybody, but they do it with no understanding. So they try to beguile the masses of the people. So Lord willing, we gave y'all through the spirit of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua precepts to defend, whatever type of madness they come with through the spirit.
Definitely, Lord willing, Israel was edified. Lord willing, the Most High was pleased with his sacrifice. you know, and like the brother said, you know, Lord willing, brothers and sisters, you know, gain the new scripture, you know, new precept and whatnot to help them understand, you know, Romans 11 better, and also defend the gospel as well. But with that, we're gonna close up, giving all praise, honor, and glorification to the Most High Yahweh. By Shema Mashiach, Shalom.
Shalom.